Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia and welcome back to another early game playbook video, and this time we're taking a look at Yuan Shao's faction in the 190 start. Now since we are on patch 1.7.0, he is one of the factions that received the biggest change following the launch of Fates Divided DLC, and there is a lot to talk about in terms of how to play this faction, as it is very different from before. You still have the same Lineage mechanic, but there is an added layer to this where you can spend Lineage to upgrade your captain retinues, which is where your former power base really came from. You could have very cheap captain retinues in the early game before and rush down opponents in the north. Now that is not really possible because there are changes to the mechanics involving the captain retinue where you no longer get discounts right off the bat. So we'll be talking about that, we'll be talking about how to start the faction off, what some of the optimal moves are in the early game, and the first thing we'll do is introduce the faction. So you can see here that Yuan Shao has a few more unique characters surrounding him. Yan Liang, Wen Chou. They got unique models in the latest update, and you also have two sons who will also have unique models. Yuan Tan starts out off age, so you can use him right off the bat, and Yuan Shao will come of age very soon in your campaign. So aside from them, there are no other unique characters, but you do start out with a fairly decent sized court, and you still have the lineage mechanic as we mentioned before. This can be gained in many new ways now. I think the description here doesn't actually describe things for new players very well. They still kept most of the old lines. So first off, lineage is what you use to recruit characters. It costs you 10 lineage to recruit a new general. I actually think this needs to be rebalanced because it is very cheap. And since there is many ways to gain lineage for Yuan Shao now, 10 lineage is much cheaper than the typical 1,000 copper that you have to spend to recruit a general, or whatever you want to call the currency. Technically they're copper coins, 五铢. And for you, it's actually super cheap to recruit generals. That's something you can make note of. You can actually form special strategies around this if you want. I'll explain that a bit later, but that's one thing to note. Lineage is very easy to get, and you use lineage to recruit characters. Another thing is you have a new form of occupation where after a siege battle you take over an enemy piece of land. You have a new option at the end, which is called reinforce and resupply, where you spend 50 lineage to gain 20% extra replenishment for your units. It's quite powerful and useful if you had a tough fight and need to heal back up. Another thing is, you can forge alliances right off the bat, even though you might not be at a faction rank that allowed this. This is something special to you, and the reason why you have this is because any alliance or coalition formed by you will gain lineage points for you. 5 lineage per point for each faction you have formed alliance or coalition with. This is not super strong because, as I will cover in the guide, there's many easier ways to gain lineage now. You gain it by declaring wars, you gain it by winning battles, you gain it by summoning armies onto the field. So this is actually not super valuable. Also, the reason why you have so many ways of gaining lineage now is because you can spend lineage to upgrade your captain retinues in something called the captain armory, where you can give different bonuses to your captain retinues, and we'll go over most of them in this guide as well. And of course, the special feature is the captain retinues themselves. I will showcase all the different ones you can recruit and how they will change throughout your campaign. You still have your 2 unique units in the Warrior of Ye and the Defender of Hebei from before, alongside many other new unique units that came in the Fates Divided DLC. So if you have the DLC, you can play around with those units. They include some very awesome crossbow units and spear units that has to do with the city of Ye. We'll take a look at them once we get into game. You also have unique building. This is a replacement for the administrative office. It's called the Yuan Administrative Office. It provides pretty much the same stuff as a typical administrative office, except for you can gain lineage on top of that, and it boosts public order, which is the regular one doesn't do it, but you still get the income from all sources. That part's the same. And lastly, your unique mechanic is the Captain Armory. We already talked about the noteworthy characters. Both of these generals are quite strong with powerful unique abilities and some gold items at the start. As for yourself, your traits are arrogant, charismatic, and vain. And vain is going to be shared across many of your family members, which makes keeping personal retinues quite difficult unless you reroll this trait. It's considered a negative trait, so you could definitely reroll it through the faction council throughout your game. But if you don't, that comes back to the point of relying on your captain retinues instead of regular retinues. That way you can just have cheaper units instead of adding more expensive units on your generals. Lastly, you are a commander, and your faction bonuses are 50% reinforcement range, minus 15% recruitment cost for spear infantry. Many of your unique build units are spear infantry, and all your polearm infantry, which are basically spear infantry, green infantry, they will get +3 starting rank. So with that said, we're going to hop into game. We're showcasing this on legendary 40-minute battle timers on patch 1.7.0, and we'll talk about how to get started with Yuan Shao's faction.
东贼残暴无度，已将洛阳焚作丘墟。
昔日吾与董卓尽诛燕术，怎奈这厮狼子野心。
董卓劫迁天子，西投长安。
汉家天下尽在此贼掌握，不可叫此贼掌握天下。吾等必须行动。
主公明鉴，但当下必须先平乱党匪患。如今天下微弱羸卵，奈何联军诸侯似乎无心力战？
我想，也许现在是时候着手重振联军了。
主公，袁氏之龙一直掌控大局，天下早已听闻主公威名。
Alrighty, we got our flyby, and we have established your power, Lord Yuan Shao. Although you led your coalition to the very gates of the tyrant, your warlords have lost their zeal and fractured, and the fight is not yet done. You must reach out, using your influence and name, reforge broken bonds, and bring together a new coalition, as only you can. However, be wary of those who would undermine you, especially your vicious kin, Yuan Shu, for China. You must hold firm, so we can claim back some of the Han Empire regions, defeat Yellow Turbans, and be wary of Gongsun Zan to our north. So, our first mission is to fight Cui Jun in front of us. Taste of victory, very standard fight. And if we close all these out, let's take a look at where we start. So, we are holding the city of Ye in the north. We have the Yellow River right underneath us. We don't have much land, that's the only land we have, and our first turn battle wants us to fight this army in front of us and reclaim some Han territory in the farmland of Wei. So the Wei commandery is just a farmland one, as is Henei to our south, and if we look at Anping to our north, also same thing. So 3 stacked farmland commandery, and if we look over here, there's a Shangdang commandery over here, which is actually worse. It's farmland, and capital. So you're surrounded with a lot of food sources, but not very lucrative commanderies because they don't make money, the farmlands. So you have to find ways to make money. That is the first difficult thing. And if you look at our treasury, we start out with only 47 here. And the main reason is army upkeep. We start out with a very big army stack. Every retinue we have under us, we have to pay 25% extra because remember, we have vain. So typically you don't want to have Yuan Shao to have retinues in the beginning because they cost way too much. You much rather have them in the captain retinues or in another general. And we mentioned how many of your kids share this one. Not your oldest son. Yuan Tan tends to be more humble. But one thing we have to make note is that among your family, you all share this skill, familial conflict. This is if you have another friendly unit in range with this ability, so if you have 2 family members on the field at the same time and they're not on the elephant, you'll passively grant a bonus to each other basically. So personally you become very strong for dueling and attacking. Let's say we put Yuan Tan and Yuan Shao in the same army, or just have them reinforced because remember one of your background bonus is 50% extra reinforcement range, or actually 100% here. So it actually is different from what the menu says outside, but go with this one. This one's more accurate. So your reinforcement zone, typically you see it on the map as your circle. You have to be within the circle to reinforce. It doubles in distance. So you can imagine how far you can reinforce. That allows for the previous strategy of using a lot of captain retinues in different armies and just rush people down. But now, these things don't automatically get 50% discount because of the lineage changes. So now the lineage have different tiers, and each tier really only unlocks a different tier within this captain armory. This is a very new mechanic. It might be a lot to take in. But right now, because we have this much lineage, we can buy stuff from this zone. And they would all cost the same as the tier unlock. So you need to reach 30 points to unlock this tier. Each of these will cost you 30. You need to be at 60, 100, 150, 300. And that responds to, or correlates to the cost of each of these different upgrade you can give to your captain retinue. You can also rename your captain retinue, all things you can do. But you can go more than 300. You can save up to 1,000 points and just upgrade a unit a whole bunch with different upgrades that you would want for them. So you can imagine once you get multiple captain retinues, you might be spending a ton of upgrades. There's 27 total. That's going to cost you a lot of lineage. So you want to gain tons of lineage. And there's many ways to do that, and we'll cover it throughout. But the most important thing is this thing that's clicked off in the beginning. This is the captain missions. So this unlocks access to special missions for your captain retinues that will grant you bonuses for all your captain retinues going forward in the campaign. And you can see those bonuses or those missions here under your mission tab. They're right here. And there's always these three. They come in 3 tiers. First, have your captains achieve 100 kills. Who are your captains? Your captains are your general replacement unit. So this entire retinue is called the captain retinue. These are the retinue. This is the captain. That means this unit have to kill 100 enemies. Once they do, you will unlock minus 10% upkeep cost for mercenaries. Mercenaries are captain retinues. They're considered mercenaries in the game. There's many terminologies. There's mercenaries, there's captain retinues, there's mercenary captain retinues. Just think of them as the same thing. If you get them to have 300 kills, 20% upkeep, and 500 kills, 30% upkeep. So obviously this is very powerful, because if you have cheaper upkeep, you're basically getting better value by adding them to your army than recruiting, especially considering the fact that he would have plus 25% upkeep for the vein. So that's something we want to do right off the bat. There is an issue with this mission that I have, is that it doesn't scale with unit size. So right now, we're playing on large, which I think is more the default option where the game is balanced for. You can play on extreme, which is double unit size. It does not double the mission requirements here. So if I'm playing this on extreme, the enemy will have 240, 240, 240, 240 units. That's, 960 units for me to kill on the first battle. Very easy to get 500 kills there. I can finish that mission right off the bat. If I'm playing on large, I would need at least 2 fights. Even if I murder every single person here with that unit, I will only get 480 kills, which is not enough to hit the mission requirement. Now the good thing is we have a second battle here against a garrison, and we can easily get a total of 500. But if you're playing at any smaller difficulty due to maybe CPU limitations or GPU limitations, your mission would still be 100, 300, 500. So you might run into issues of not hitting the required amount during your first turn, which might cause some differences between your campaign and what I'm showcasing here. But that's just something to make note of. The other two are much more fairer in terms of unit size interferences. This one just have you recruiting captain retinues 3 times, 5 times, 7 times, and you gain bonuses to your lineage growth. And this is sustained growth. So you can basically keep gaining influences. You can see there's many ways to gain influences. You're not even going to have any issues going forward. Imagine, 70 growth per turn all the time. You have plenty to spend. Then on top of that, this is the most crucial one, because this is recruitment cost discount. So combination with this, you can have very cheap units, both for upkeep and for recruitment. This one's a little harder to get. You need to win 3 battles, 5 battles, 7 battles with captains in your army. So they just have to be there. They don't have to make certain kills. They just have to be part of the army that's victorious. So that's something to keep in mind to finish as well. You're not going to finish this that early, and the cost obviously determines like how long you want to keep this unit around to finish that one. I'm going to be showcasing a few things in terms of how I think the best way to do these missions are. I think these are crucial in terms of getting you set up for a good game, because once you have 45% discount and 30% discount for upkeep, the captain revenues will shine a lot more. There are other ways to boost these things. For example, there is a general named Zhang Ba, who is going to start out the game, I believe, in Tao Qian's faction, who has a background bonus if he is made heir, prime minister, or leader. That will give you additional 25% discount to both the upkeep and the recruitment of captain revenues. That's going to be huge, because that puts you at 55% discount for upkeep, and that puts you at 70% discount for recruitment. So you can imagine how good that bonus will be. Now, how do we get him? Well, first you have to gain vision of Tao Qian's faction, and then you have to have a spy. He happens to have a disloyal trait, and he's very easy to make into a turncoat. So you just have to keep an eye out for him and snatch him the first chance you have. And as for how you can make him prime minister or heir, if you want to make him your heir, you have to adopt him. If you want to not upset your sons and wait for prime minister, you have to wait till you hit the duke rank. And since we're on the topic of rank, let's take a look at the rank. There is something unique for Yuan Shao's faction. Right now, we are headed towards second marquis. We are just a noble. Once we get to this rank, you see the bonuses you gain, nothing different. But at marquis, you see here, unlocked advanced captain revenues. So what you can recruit now are considered basic captain revenues. The quality of the unit will be more of a reflection of early game units. Once you get to marquis, you get more advanced versions for each one. And then once you get to duke, you see that it's still advanced. But at king, it becomes elite. So these are the best quality of troop, because it's preset groups. You don't actually pick out each unit. You have to recruit the captain, comes as a package. So this will help you improve the package of units you get when you recruit. So that's one thing to make note of. And we'll take a look at recruitment of the captains after the first turn, because you cannot recruit units on the first turn. We'll take a look at that as well. But that's something to keep in mind of. And once you reach Duke, you can put a Prime Minister in for that discount then. Or if you want to rush it to play more of a min-max style, definitely give him adoption and use that bonus as quickly as you can. Alright, so with that said, the first thing we'll do is get a trade deal, because we do have neighbors, friendly neighbors to the north in Hanfu, and then surrounded by Han Empire, which is a vassal to Dongzhuo, who holds the emperor, and we have Yellow Turbans, Yuan Shao, to our south. We would like to kick him off the north bank of the Yellow River as soon as possible, and also I think expanding towards Pingyuan early is a good way to gain some income, because there is actually a salt mine and some industry buildings here that can make you some money, whereas we mentioned you're surrounded by farmlands at the beginning. Aside from that, you are going to be given the same confederation event as before, where you can choose to confederate Hanfu and go into war with Gongsun or not. Previous versions of this guide had us ignoring that, but since Zhang He has been given a unique model and some very nice unique skills and a very good spear, and he starts out in Hanfu's faction, we are going to take the confederation every time. So once we do that, we're going to be going to war with Gongsun Zan. So expanding this way and getting ready to go to war with him around Bohai is probably very vital. Now this guy is probably not going to go that far because it doesn't happen right away, but that's just some thoughts in terms of how we're going to play this out. Because Han Empire actually makes for a pretty good neighbor. They are not aggressive. They won't actually come back and attack us. So keeping them on the border doesn't really harm us, and capturing Hene really doesn't bring us that much benefit, just because it's just a farmland commandery. Alright, so first things first, while our army is fresh, we get a deal. There are many things you can do on turn 1, because you actually know quite a few factions. So Liu Dai,
进来谈谈吧。
there is a daughter that he has that you can marry off to your son if you want. You do have to pay a bit for this, so I don't know if you're up for that. There are items that you can look through every faction. We didn't take a look at what we rolled randomly, but assuming you roll some, decent haul, you should be fine. Trade positive with Hanfu. Go ahead and do it. I did say we were going to confederate him through an event. That's totally fine. We'll find a new trade partner afterward. He can enrich us in the meantime. And what we can get from him is also a marriage with his daughter. And this one, despite the fact they don't like each other, you can still get, it's cheaper. But I don't think it's good because they're not, very strong. There's nothing to offer. And plus, a lot of time for marriages, you kind of want to do them on turn 2 if it's with the heir, because the AI has not equipped all their items yet, right? If, let's say, his daughter happens to be his heir, which in this case is not true, I think he has a son as well, he will put those items on the heir on his turn. And then when you offer the marriage on turn 2, which should still exist, you can get those items through the marriage. But in this case, we're just going to take a look. There's really nothing we want. We are just interested in getting the trade deal and maybe a non-aggression pack, and then even a military trade after, or military access, because just basically trying to get as much value as we can from him. The first deal is going to be this combination, trying to get ourselves some money from him. He's not very rich. You can see he makes 511, but once the trade deal goes through, he's actually going to make more money. So the following deal we can get slightly respectable amount of money, or else he just has really nothing. Get this deal through.
我方同意。
And the second deal we're going to make with him
欢迎
is
朋
going
友
to be the military access plus 1 food. We have a ton of food around us. You have to use these food to get value, and you see that he has 700 now because he also made money from the trade deal, or else we're really not going to get much from him. 81. We'll take it.
我方接受。
Alright, you might think you're done here, but because you know Cao Cao and you start out with a non-aggression pack, there is something you can do. You can spend all your 2,000 on turn 1 in a divorce. So this is your court. Your brother, ignore him. He's in a different faction. You have your wife. You have 3 sons. Yuan Shao is also going to be unique. He's 14. He'll come of age pretty quick. And you have 2 generals that are unique and 1 strategist. That's your entire court. Your wife, because you have children, if you divorce, she will still be considered part of the family. Divorcing her costs you 1,000 here. And after you divorce her, since you're not going to make her your heir because you already have Yuan Tan here, who has decent bonuses, you can put her to good use to get you good generals by marrying her off. So that's exactly what we will do. We'll spend some of our early game cash on the divorce. And you can see he doesn't feel too bad about it, right? Because it's not divorcing her out of the clan. She's not the heir and then got the divorce. It's okay. We can offer her to Cao Cao, who now starts the game off with a very, very powerful general in Cao Ren. And it's not that expensive, because we also still have food, and you can just give 1 common item, because common item are worth exactly 1 point. Whoa, that is a... Why can't we offer him any of our items? That feels like a glitch. There we go. Yeah, they just disappeared. So all these common items are worth exactly 1. So just give up 1 common item. Now, before we offer the deal, we can just confirm that you always start out with actually a common item. We only got these 2 on turn 1. The common item we always have is the eavesdropper. So you can definitely trade that and make this deal work all the time. You don't have to worry about not rolling a common item. 1 food plus 1 common item. We'll just use this for the sake of demonstration because I do have another one, but since we always have this one, just give this over, and a very nice deal goes through.
那就如此吧。
And Cao Ren becomes part of your clan. So you might also be wondering, what if I want other members of Cao Cao's family in the future through marriages because now we're related? Well, the easy thing to do here is to divorce them before they have kids. You can decide when you want to do this. You want to take a gamble maybe a bit later, or you can just do this now if you want. You have enough money. That way, technically, Cao Cao's family is still not related to you. And when people like Cao Ang, Cao Pi comes of age, you can offer the marriage again to get them to join your faction. So your wife is a very good candidate to keep stealing characters. There are many characters that's good to steal in this early phase of the game. Ma Chao comes of age quite early. He's out west. You need some view to see him, but once you see him, you can use your wife to steal him as well. So it's kind of up to you of when you want to do the divorce. Getting Cao Ren on turn 1 also has the benefit of him coming with his bow. You can't see him here yet. I think he's in the faction. It's just that it doesn't update the character menu that fast. Yeah, his flag is updated. I can pull it up. Yeah, so I can move it around if I want. He's in the faction. The AI hasn't had a chance to steal the bow yet. The reason why Cao Ren's so good is because once you get Heavenly Presence, it's the best healing skill in the game. Just broken unlimited heals, 3k over 60 seconds, and boost morale for all units, not even just a general heal, heals units as well. Just can't bring people back from the dead. That's a difference you have to think about. It's not like you have 60 units, you can heal back to 66 unit. It's more like if your 60 units have injured units, they can get that health back, but they cannot, spawn new units on the battlefield from dark magic or whatnot. And he has fondness because the marriage was good, so he's gonna stay pretty happy with you. It doesn't have really strong background bonuses yet. These might be updated in the next patch, so I wouldn't recommend making him the heir. Yuan Tan being heir is perfectly fine. You get a little bit of money from him, 15% from family state. You can think of family state as this base 2,000 income source, so 15% boost would be 300. So not bad. It's better than, say, the magistrate, which sounds good right now, 5% from all sources, but guess what? At this point, all sources does not add up to 6,000 total, which is how much it would need to overcome this 15% from family state. So keep him, and he's also higher level, closer to get flexibility. Alright, so all the diplomacy is done, we spend some money, we have a decent amount of income, we're gonna fight our first battle, and you should definitely fight it manually. So the reason why you want to fight this manually is because we want to feed kills to our captain. We want to get that mission done on turn 1, and then we're gonna just delete this unit because it's way too pricey. So let's jump into the fight. Alrighty, as you load up into the battle, keep this unit, mark it. Doesn't matter if he gets injured, he might lose a few units doing this, but keep him around for the fight. You can have another unit or another group of unit to help it tank some of the ranged damage as this unit tries to sneak up behind. Everyone else can just hide far behind, don't steal any kills, don't take any experience, and Yuan Shao himself can go in for a duel. You'll win the duel, you'll get some experience. Make sure you ask for the duel. So many of you have asked me this. The reason why you want to ask for the duel instead of accept the one he offers you is because you get a lot more experience by asking other people to duel. And then someone asked me, what do I do if people keep asking before I get a chance to ask? Well, reject. Because once they're willing to ask, that means you can ask them back. And the easiest way to avoid people asking you is just turn it off and then do the, ask yourself. So run him up, sneak him around, and have them go closer. So you see that he's willing. If I don't have this turned on, he'll ask me when I get into range, which is fine, just reject at that point, and then you close the rejection screen, you go here, you ask him yourself. Now Cui Jun is a good boy. Cui Jun is Cui Lit's son. Cui Lit is one of the grand excellencies in the court right now. It's a shame that he has to die so that we can gain some experience. We don't need to watch this, it's pretty easy. Focus on getting kills. Alright, walk these guys into the enemy archer's range. It'd be better if you even force them to turn around to hit you. And we are gonna come out of here. We can do this on 3 times speed. Alright, just take the damage, doesn't matter.
敌人察觉到我军了，
Charge. Focus on one.
看，
Route them.
敌军逃跑
Follow,
了，
follow, 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 follow. Alright, kill every single one. Let them hit you all day, no problem. Okay, if it's 4 left, it's fine. And regroup. We don't want to get tangled up with enemy infantry. Charge. We have 1.
将已被我军斩了。
And same thing. Chase. They're losing morale fast. They might bounce back. That one's a, you know, yeah, let them bounce back. You want to focus one at a time because you're trying to get as many kills as you can. You don't need all 480, but you know, get about 300, 400. It makes the next fight easier. And you can check kills right here. Alright, done. Charge down. They swap places. If you're going to share experience with one person, it's going to be Yuan Shao, because you want him to level up. None of the other units should get any experience. Alright, let them chase through, get all the kills. Come on, keep moving. We lost a bunch of units, it's fine. And we charge. We're at 333. Let's route them. That's the win. Yuan Shao can chase that one. They can chase this one. And we're just gonna let them finish the chase. And the whole reason is to stack up to that 500 kills within the first 2 battles. And just make a mental note where you end up. That way you know how many kills to pass over in the next battle. And you can see those archers barely tickled us. And that's where we can heal them back up, because you can see the bar, they took damage. So that's when Taurian can heal them back to full. If we lost to 17 here, you can't invent 14 new people to show up to join the group through healing. No magic yet in the 3 Kingdoms. And just let him finish up. Alrighty, and we ended up getting 412 kills on him at the end, which you can check again over here. Wipe them out. And we gain Lineage. Every battle can gain 15 points of Lineage. And we'll just take income here. So we got ourselves Taste of Victory. And our next mission is going to be capture the city for support of the people. Very, very standard. And we got Captain Pursuit Progression. So basically this is telling us our mission is moving along, right? We now have 20% upkeep cost for all mercenary unit faction-wide. We're going to move that up to 30% after this battle here. So we keep fighting. Now this means you have to fight this manually as well, just to get that last, you know, I think 88 kills on him. Basically give him the archer and pass these on to Yuan Shao if you can, or it doesn't really matter who at this point, but definitely fight this to make sure he can get 88 kills. Alrighty, we cut that out, and I got super lazy, just charge everyone up. He got 117, more than enough. Got majority of the rest on him. Didn't chase everyone down, that's why everyone got a little piece of kills. It's all good. And most importantly, we finished the mission. We also get another 15 points of Lineage, and here's where we have this new option here. So secure and occupy will spend 50 points of Lineage, and you gain all these bonuses. Most importantly, these two at the bottom. 20% replenishment for the garrison and 20% replenishment for your units. This is quite powerful, since there is many easy ways to gain Lineage throughout your campaign. This is a great way to do it. And also notice you don't actually lose population doing this. This is the only option here that will not lose population. So quite interesting. We're not going to do it here because I don't need the replenishment. I'm getting rid of all the units. We'll just simply occupy. And we got ourselves a level up because I got a lot of experience on him through actively asking for the duel and chasing down enemy units. Our next mission is Your Economy Grows. Very useful mission for the early game. And we got bonus experience for taking first land, bonus experience for like first victory and all that stuff. And that pushes us to level 4. And here the skill you want to learn is flexibility for redeployment, because understanding for us is a lot less valuable because it does not apply to captain retinues. So we're not going to recruit level 2 captain retinues or whatever. So flexibility first. Another thing to talk about leveling up is that the new mechanic with Fates Divided DLC, if you own the DLC, is that whenever Yuan Shao or Cao Cao reaches level 7, the first one to do so will gain the Northern Army. For Cao Cao, the Northern Army will just be those 5 followers that you can equip the units on 5 generals. For you, in addition to that, all your captain retinues will become the Northern Army captain retinues. Doesn't matter about the elite upgrades or whatever, you're just going to get Northern Army units in your captain retinues. That is good and bad. I'm not a huge fan of the Northern Army units. They're good, but they're not like top tier, and they lack they don't lack types of units, but I just don't think they're that strong. And I think elite captain retinues might be a bit better. So it's not always the best thing, but you don't lose out on much. It's still good. Like, you're gonna have good units, especially in the mid game, because you don't have the elite one until you reach king, and you might hit level 7 before you reach king. And at that point, you know, having the Northern Army units will be a good thing compared to your advanced captain retinues. So that's something to make a note of. But pick up this so you can summon generals off of your group a little bit cheaper, because you get the 25% discount redeployment. Yuan Tan should go for that first as well. It's kind of tempting to do the extra assignment, but there's really not that many good assignments to do for your early commandery, so I still prefer this. Saves us a bit of money from the beginning. And the thing that we haven't done is we should have decked him out for authority to give us the most authority boost. You can have this as well. Good book. You don't always start with this. We rolled this in our first turn, so lucky us. But it's not going to make a big difference. Your faction is going to be fine in terms of satisfaction because you have 2 generals with very high authority. You know, technically you can switch his weapon for more authority, but since we have him fighting duels, let him keep that for now. Later on, if we have better options, we can swap them. We start out with quite a few gold items that we didn't talk about. Yan now starts out with his Defense of Levity, and he starts out with the Roar. Very powerful on patch 1.7. And he has a unique ability here called Mighty Thrust. Not so crazy, but not bad. What's really good is Ventral's special ability, which is the Siege Roar. It's a 30-point morale hit, so we talked about how good morale reduction is on this patch. With 18 is good, with 30 it's even better. Now of course you only have 4 charges here, still very powerful. I think 4 is plenty to win you a fight. He also starts out with a unique bow. I don't think it goes very well on him, but you can definitely, switch it around to maybe a strategist to get the cunning boost in someone, better hands. And you have a new bow because you got Taurian, which boosts ammo. Now it's debatable whether plus 10 cunning is better or plus 10% ammo is better. In my opinion, if you have a ton of cunning already, it's better to get plus 10% ammo, because that 10 points of cunning isn't going to boost you another 10%. But if you have very low cunning, it might be better to go with a straight up cunning bow. It's not a huge difference, but I think this one's slightly better in terms of providing ammo to your units. The damage, I think is same. I think it's 30 attack rate, 1.1, 600, 200 range. Obviously all damage figure will change depending on what unit size you're using. But just for a quick comparison between the two, yeah, exactly the same. So no difference there. Its only difference is the cunning. Now, you might think we're done with the first turn. We're far from it. The one annoying thing that the faction has is that it starts off your characters with a few titles, which is making you poor. So Ventral has the Orator, which is the lowest tier title you can give someone. It does keep him happy, so there is a use for it. Yan now starts out as a senior officer, 200 per turn, way too much. Boost him down to just either a attendant, or if you want to have him in your first army, move him as the general of the left first for recruitment cost discount, except it's less useful for us because this does not apply to captain retinue recruitment. General of the right will still keep things cheap, but general of the left will not work for captain retinue recruitment. Captain retinue recruitment is somewhere between redeployment cost and recruitment cost. It's just not affected by anything. So unless you have the bonuses from the missions, unless you have a background like Zamba that says, cheaper mercenary, cheaper captain retinues, it's just not going to be affected by any sort of recruitment cost. You can't boost instinct to make it cheaper. You can't get a reform to make it cheaper. So that does not work well for us. Eventually this will work pretty well, but on the first turn, before you know you want him on the field or not, I just recommend moving him to attendant. He'll drop by 10 points, which is happy enough. Anything above 25 is okay at this stage. All right, that's done. Court's happy. We have our heir. We got our new character. We are going to issue some assignments. Now, we want our son to level up. There's two ways you can do this. You can have him join the father in an army, which is not bad because both of them would have familial conflict. They will boost each other. You basically have two generals that become much more powerful. 50% attack rate, 50% extra charge, 50% extra damage, +5 morale to each other. Not bad. That's one option. Two option is just have him passively gain experience by doing assignments. I prefer to have him on the field. So I'm going to give this honorable job of collecting taxes either to the wife or Cao Ren. It doesn't really matter. Pros and cons to both. The pro for Cao Ren is obviously he will gain experience. That way he get closer to his unique skill, which is why I usually pick him. For your wife, it's more like she starts out level 1. So you can keep her satisfied longer by doing this. You gain, dissatisfaction due to higher desire for higher office. The higher level you are, he's gonna gain level, 3. That's gonna increase his desire for higher office. But the good news is, married into a ruling family plus fondness from this marriage will definitely keep him afloat a little bit higher. Although I think the fondness is not always guaranteed. This is a chance event, so we got pretty lucky. It's worth 15 points. And the second assignment's where things get a little bit tricky. There's nothing that really work for us. If you have more satisfaction issues, you can go with this, but we don't have that. I don't need reserves. I don't need more food. So I think the option of mustering where losing some population might be the best call right now. The reason here is I am going to be recruiting armies very soon, and reducing mustering turns is basically saying increase replenishment from mustering. So I'm going to have Yan Liang go do this until we recruit our first army. Then I'm going to cancel it because I don't want to lose too much population. And now he goes away after finishing our mission. Good job. We have 30% upkeep discount for him for all captain retinues going forward, but he's still too expensive. So he's going away. All these units are on a general with Vane. They're all going away as well. And we're going to recall Yuan Shao for healing. Now, previously, before the big update, I recommended never recalling Yuan Shao because he provided 5 points of lineage just by staying on the field. This is no longer true. You gain way more lineage recalling him every single turn because summoning a new army onto the field gives you 10 lineage points. So recalling and resummoning is worth 10, keeping him on the field is worth 5. So do the math there. As long as you have seasonal redeployment limit, resummoning generals every turn into new armies will gain you way more lineage. So let's recall him, and we'll summon him back over here next turn. Alright, so that's all done. We do have this building slot, and the obvious choice here is actually tax collection. No surprise. I don't like spending money early on buildings because the return on them at this point is quite low, especially without administrators. And tax collection actually synergizes quite well from what we have because we have a bunch of peasantry commanderies. So let's put that down. and just let it build slowly. And we can move on with our next turn at this point. I think we have everything covered. If you're tempted to do upgrades, obviously we got rid of our only captain retinue, so we can't upgrade anything. But my recommendation is don't. Some of these are quite powerful. We will probably not give any of our early captain retinue any bonuses. But if you're considering on investing something, like say you saved up so many points that you thought maybe I'll overflow, I want to spend some now, the one that you would look at first would probably be this. This would just be something applied once. The ones with flags are not given to individual units, but just given to your faction as a whole. And this just increased 3 army limit, which obviously has a lot of benefits because more armies you can have, the more deployment you can have, the more lineage you can gain, because we talked about each new army is worth 10 lineage and so forth. So that there's some benefits there. And then in the end game, so let's spend a little bit of time talking about the end game for Yuan Shao's faction on turn 1. This is the dream that you can have when playing this faction. And the dream is free cavalry captain retinues. So not free in terms of recruitment, but free in terms of upkeep. And you can overwhelm absolutely everyone in the late game. So in the captain retinues, when you recruit them, there's 2 cavalry versions. There's a melee cavalry version, there's a shot cavalry version. The shot cavalry version is full of cavalries. And we know we can get 30% upkeep for them. If we get Zanba, which I think you should definitely make that one of your goals in any campaigns, you move up to 55% upkeep reduction. The other 45% you can get for cavalry upkeep, you can get from reforms and horse pasture. So once you control all 4 horse pastures plus some reform and your bonus, all cavalry captain retinues will be free upkeep. This is the only free upkeep cavalry since the Qiang units got nerfed, whereas they could be free before. So now you can have free captain retinue cavalry units, which are super fast on the field, and then you will recruit cavalries for the general. So you have 1 general leading a stack full of cavalries, assuming, and then 2 captain retinues with them that can be boosted with things like unbreakable cavalry, unbreakable and invisible cavalry, and you can also have them replenish on foreign land, and you can gain extra speed, and you can gain extra charge. It's just going to be ridiculous in the late game for your cavalry units, and you can overrun AIs with very, very cheap units. Imagine the army limit, 3 extra from this, 8 extra from your prestige points. So you have a ton of armies that's all free upkeep, filled with cavalries, running down enemies everywhere in the late game. This is a big shift from how you would play Yuan Shao previously, where you had this early game power spike of very free and cheap units, or half-price units, run down enemies, expand. Now it's more like slowly build up to the point where you have a very powerful late game spike, where you just dominate factions with your captain retinues that are all boosted and just very, very cheap. Alright, so that's enough talk. Let's move on to turn 2. Alrighty, so we're at turn 2. You get all these generals. We can take a look at the recruitment for us. We spent 10 points of lineage to recruit. I think this is very cheap because we talked about it. When you recruit a new general on the field, that costs 10. So the strategy I was talking about earlier, where you can profit off this, is one where you don't care about your court. Well, obviously in this case, like, it doesn't really work anymore because you probably really like your unique generals. But before the game changed the update, you could just convert your lineage to money because everyone was generic in your faction by pretty much firing everyone by banishing them, because each banish is worth 800. And once you banish all your generals, you can recruit everyone with lineage and then banish them again, and you'll be really, really rich. You could do this in the late game if you have a lot of satisfaction boosts, which I imagine you would once you hit the Imperial Court. You could definitely hire someone with items, take all their items, and then banish them. It doesn't hurt anyone else's feelings that much. It's only -5, and that way you can make money with your lineage, because we gain lineage quite easily. Watch this. Raising an army will increase your lineage by 0. No, by 10 points. It should be 10. It should be 10. Look, it's 10. It's a typo. Anyways, we got the 10 points. That's all that matters. Put him here. And we would like the son to be with him. That's kind of the goal here. It's quite pricey to push this army out, but we have a bunch of cash on us, so it's fine. And obviously you'll get rid of the units, because we're going to rely on captain retinues. And you could use the movement trick if you want to move them forward. Now obviously summoning the second did not increase our lineage. What you wanted to do, which we didn't do, because I was considering doing this. I guess I will do it now. Move him closer to the land. If you don't want to use the movement trick, totally fine. You can still take it by like the next turn. Not the next turn, but the turn after. What you want to do then is summon them into separate armies and then merge them into the town together. Because then you get 20 points of lineage instead of 10 points. Just a thought. Alright, nothing else really happening. We have that going. If you want to make some deals in terms of like you can get some non-aggression probably before you delete that army with the new factions you bumped into, but the value is not really that good. So just pass on that. And don't even worry about starting coalition alliances to get passive 5 points of lineage. That bonus that's designed when the game was launched is no longer really worth it because you have so many ways to gain lineage. Like 5 a turn, not attractive at all. And ideally we did this wrong too. You will want to summon Yuan Tan first and then Yuan Shao second. That way Yuan Shao is on the field, that way you get 5 more points. It's just small min-maxing things. In the grand scheme of things, not going to hurt you one bit. Let's continue to next turn. Alrighty. Because we only kept 1 unit on the field, as long as we recruit and maintain more than 3 at the start of a new turn, we'll get Growing Might. I don't actually want to trigger this just yet. So we're not going to trigger that, but we are still going to recruit more than 2 units this turn. We're going to pump out our captain retinue. So this is where you recruit captain retinues, in case you guys didn't know. Next to your characters, there's a captain tab. And now thinking about it, I think I'm definitely going to pop that one now, because the way the game works is once I take the city, it will refresh it, and it's fine. We'll keep their unit. So this unit here is the one I'm interested in, because it's the cheapest one. You get some archers, you get some axe men, and it only costs you 574 upkeep for 7 units. Think about that. That's super cheap. This is the price of an archer, 60. If I get 7 of just those, that's the cheapest unit in the game. That's, 420. If I get 7, technically I'm getting 5 of these guys, or equivalent to these guys, and 2 of them. It should normally be about 600 something, and I'm getting a much cheaper price. Does he have a discount? Yeah, he does. He has a 15% discount, so it's skewed. It's way more than 600. It should be, about 800, and we're just getting a discount because of the bonuses we are getting from this. We're not getting bonuses from this yet until we recruit more captain retinues, which is something we will definitely be doing. But here they come, and what I think I'm going to do with these is I'm going to make a deal to trigger the 10% extra replenishment so they get ready faster so we can fight this. And that way we don't waste the extra mustering turn. -3. Typically it's 8 turn mustering, now it's 5 turn remaining, so we get extra percentages there. So we're just going to talk to Han Fu and give him 1 copper coin. Very happy to do that deal there. Trigger the Growing Might. That way we get the 10% replenishment. Want us to hold extra settlements so we get some extra lineage for the next 3 turns. We'll do that real quick. Han Fu has Zhang He. He's the reason why we will always take the Confederation event. The one thing you gotta note is that he is not part of the family. So when you confederate him and you see him, he must be on the field for you to get him. And you must also have open army slots to take him in. He usually has 2 armies. There's usually another army here. So don't create too many armies to the point where when you recruit him, you can't take him in. That's a huge loss. We want him. So keep your eye out for that when the Confederation event hits. But this way we get 10% extra replenishment. They'll be a little bit healthier when we do the fighting next turn. And that's all we really have to do here. So we can just continue. Oh, right. Building got finished. That's why we triggered. So your economy growth is also going. Build this first. We very rarely sell food. There's a good reason for that, because you don't usually start out with a lot of food. In our case, we start out with a lot of food because we're going to get more farmlands too. So you see that this is -6 food. It's not just -6 off the 4 that we have right now. Technically, we're only making 6 here with the help of these 2 that we're making. So it's an 8-point swing. So we'll go to -2 food here, and we'll get 2 food from these settlements here. So that's kind of how we're going to even that out. Don't worry about it. Just build it. It's also winter. You're going to make more food from this a bit later anyways. So we're good. Let's continue. All right. So in the spring is usually when you get some more unique choices here. We didn't get any unique generals here. This will be when you would first see them. People like Zhou Tai, Cheng Gong, who starts out factionless. There's no one that we really want, so we'll just pass on them. And, I mean, unless they have items, you should always check that, because for you, recruiting is quite simple. And we're ready. We're going to give up that mustering bonus, and we're just going to delegate this fight. Super easy. You didn't have to wait that turn if you didn't want to, which is why the movement cheat really doesn't do much for you anyways. Because with the 2 generals, you can dominate this force pretty easily. But even in this case, you can get a very easy delegate victory, so let's just do it. It's an open field fight. It's a farmland. Alright, you gain lineage, occupy. Your lineage increase, you have the 3 mission complete. Next mission's on assignment, that one will get triggered as well. And all the early game missions are done. And we also finished a mission where we get 10% recruitment cost discount because our captain retinue has won 3 battles. Now we want to win 5, we want to win 7. So we're going to keep fighting. Now Yuan Shao is across the river from us. He usually does not come and fight us because he's not exactly very strong at this point. And if he does, with your generals and your captain retinue, you would be fine. Now you might think we're a little bit weak. Yes, we are. What you're going to do here is you're going to delete them. That's why we are not going to give them any upgrades. And the reason why we delete them is because it's going to take them forever to heal back. It's much better to recruit a new one. The cost ratio between recruitment and the upkeep is around 4-to-1. And as you recruit more, you're finishing missions at the same time. So you're trying to do basically a little bit of everything as you refresh these counters. We're also going to recall the generals for healing and also to summon new armies in next turn so that we can get the extra lineage points. And we also want to recruit them here because our assignment gives us the mustering only in the commandery here. We want to resummon them here, set them up to attack Pingyuan in the future. Pick up a reform. Once again, getting this one does not reduce the cost of recruiting captain retinues. It does not apply to them, only to retinues. We can work on a new trade route. There's going to be limited trade partners at this point, but you can try your luck. Some of the landlocked ones to your west might be available. Another route is to go for higher tier tax collection, which is not a bad idea given that you're pretty much dependent on peasantry income in the beginning. So that's also an option. And rebel farming for you is quite lucrative because each battle is worth 15 points of lineage, and resummoning armies to fight those rebels, because you might be shifting one army of 3 general around, is going to be worth 30 points of lineage every single time because you can summon all 3 individually, combine them together, and then fight the rebels in the turn after. And if you can get seasonal deployment, you can even summon 4, have the first one be the proxy to get the movement, and rinse and repeat. Very strong. But I think we'll try to get ourselves a trade deal because that's more lucrative right now. Wang Quan, not asking too much. He's landlocked. He's only going to border you. He has really no choice. I can offer him food. You can see our food, at -8, we'll still have food. It's not a big deal. And we're going to get more food when we confederate Hanfu. Like, food for you is really not a big deal. And I just don't know if we can get any money off of him. That's the only thing. Right, I can't. it's like at the point where I might be willing to just pay him some cash to get this deal through instead of, yeah, it's very cheap. There we go. You know, we'll get paid 341 a turn. That makes that positive right off the bat. Right, very healthy. That one's going. We have 2 more turns on this. No real reason to rush it. I don't see a real reason to build this up either. It's just going to hurt our economy going forward. We don't need the extra food. Like getting 4 food from here is enough. So I don't see the benefit of getting 6 food. You might like the extra 7 units of retinue to defend it. But even at that point, if they come with a real army, 7 extra infantry units is not going to make any difference. So if they want to take it, just retake it. That's kind of the logic here. Alright, that's enough. Let's continue. And we get the Hanfu event. So this is where we will confederate him. And we have no army limit issues. We will declare war with Gongsun Zan. So we'll be ready to go to war with him. But right off the bat, we inherit his armies. Path of Glory, challenge successful to destroy Hanfu's faction. We get this bonus as well. We have to destroy Gongsun Zan next for the same Path of Glory. And here's where things, you know, might seem to get difficult, but it's really not that difficult at this point because Gongsun Zan haven't even taken Bohai yet. That's where most of the fighting will probably happen. You get yourself another really good general with items. You get Hanfu's entire family plus whoever he had on the field. Xinping here is on the field. Not bad. Farmer is really good for building up all these commandery here with agricultural development as his assignment. You can also cancel all their retinues here and then have them summon onto the field every turn when you don't have anything to do to gain more lineage. And then over here you have Hanfu, and he picked up Xun Yu. This is by luck. He got him. He does not start out with him, does he? Xun Yu always start out with him in this new patch? That's not historical at all. Oh, that's okay. I didn't know this. But okay, we got super lucky. We got a burn officer, basically. Usual. Okay, so historically he worked for us as well. Semi-unique, some small bonuses. Hanfu himself is not bad. It is kind of peasantry focus. You get all his items. That's why you don't really have to trade. If you see an item you like in Hanfu's start, don't trade for it. When you confederate, the best items are going to be on the leader, and you're going to get that anyways. So no point to really waste that. And at this point, we're going to actually end our guide. I know it feels like a very, very early guide because we only made 5 turns. Now your goal is to form an army over here to get ready to fight Gongsun Zan. And with the economy you have, you don't think it's a lot. It is actually a lot because right now we're paying for a bunch of garbage units. If we get rid of all of them, you can see our economy is actually really, really good. And we have really good generals. And access to cheaper and cheaper captain retinues. Right? That's a decent income. What's hurting us is salary. So you can start being picky here. You also got his entire family. Now, I remember her name, the wife that they give to her, to Hanfu, is always a brilliant officer. Unfortunately, she picked up a grudge. This is random too. So it's going to be very hard for us to keep her happy, but I think she's worth keeping. So what you might want to do is give her your chancellor position so that she can be slightly happier with you. That's one option you can do it here. So you got 2 Burin officers from that confederation. You can maybe fire the daughter, right? Useless, save some money. Fire the son. Depends on who you want to keep because there's 2 farmers. Xinping and Han Tong are both farmers. Han Tong has patience, which might be better than his start, right? So you might want to fire Xinping, even though handsome and loyal is not bad either. He didn't get the grudge, right? So here's where you need to shave down your roster a little bit. Way too many generals. So daughter definitely should go. Han Tong, maybe keep him. Maybe I still like the traits better. I like people who it's easy to keep satisfied. We can get patience on other people. Just get rid of the item. So you want to shave 2 of them. That's about 300 save right there. And you can even get rid of Hanfu if you don't want to use them in the future. Because let's be real, by the time you have a court position to use faction-wide bonuses, you are not going to want 15% income from peasantry. That is not what's going to drive what you want in terms of character. So I would think about firing him as well. The only thing that's good about him is he has a bunch of satisfaction boosts on his characters with Modest and Humble. So he's very easy to keep. So that's really all you really have to make note at this point. With around 3,000 income, we already looked at Captain Retinues, correct? And we can afford about 5 stacks of units. Cheaper ones. If you want to go for slightly more expensive ones, obviously it's going to be, less. But let's say you get 4 stacks. That's 2 armies of generals. The strategy would be like 1 general, 2 stacks, or 2 general, 1 stack, and then you can do 4 armies. Because each battle, you can send in a maximum of 4 armies. So, in terms of reinforcement. So in that case, you would have, let's say, 4 stacks of these with 2 generals each. When you enter into a fight, or a mix of these two, when you enter into a fight, you have 8 generals, and in terms of units, you have 28 units. And what you want to do with your units, with your lineage point, you want to spend lineage point at this point, what you want to give them is unbreakable. That will make your army incredibly strong, because at that point they have to literally kill every single one. That makes low tier units at maximum value. So that's what you want to focus on. And defeat Gong Sun Zan, expand out in the rest of the north. You have basically only Han factions around you. Clean them up before 197. Of course, you will still lose some points as you take Han territories, but because you have high food, it should be totally fine. And then focus down the bandits, travel to the northwest, capture your horse pastures. That also means when you are thinking about how to do your reform tree for Yuan Shao's faction, going down the red tree and yellow tree for these bonuses and the extra administrators here, and most importantly, going down the horse pasture route here is very important, because you want these level 5 horse pastures for that 10% upkeep discount. That's really what you're aiming for. So that's going to do it for our guide on Yuan Shao's faction in the 190 start. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and see you guys next time. Bye!